Good evening from the International Space Station Flight Control Room at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. Our coverage continues of the upcoming return to Earth of 3 of the crew members who have lived for 6.5 months on board the International Space Station. You are looking live at a picture. You're looking live at a picture of the Soyuz MS-09 spacecraft in the middle of your screen that is docked to the Rassvet module of the International Space Station, the Earth-facing port on the Russian segment of the station. Inside the middle section of that Soyuz and the so-called descent module are the 3 crew members. Soyuz Commander Sergey Prokopyev of Roscosmos. Seated to his left is the board engineer number 1, Alexander Gerst, the off-going station commander from the European Space Agency. And on Prokopiev's right, NASA flight engineer Serena Auñón-Chancellor. Undocking is scheduled a short time from now, about 54 minutes from now, where the hooks will open on the Soyuz side of the docking interface. Springs on both sides of the docking interface will push off against one another, and physical separation will occur as the Soyuz will back away to a safe distance from the station for its deorbit burn that will result in a landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan at 11:03 p.m. Central Time tonight, 12:03 a.m. Eastern Time. We're standing by for physical separation of the Soyuz MS-09 from the International Space Station, and there it is. Undocking confirmed at 7:40 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time, right on time, as the International Space Station flew 252 miles over southeastern Mongolia.
The indicator mode is not illuminated anymore. SSOP mode is illuminated. We can see the docking node. We don't see any debris or anything else on the docking mode. It's clean. Copy. GSO 1 and 2 are confirmed. Copy, please start the timer. Yes, GSO 1 is illuminated. Please start the timer, Sergey. The timer is on.
This is Mission Control Houston. You're hearing a conversation between the Russian flight controllers in Korolyov and the crew on board Soyuz MS-09. Again, you're looking at the vehicle now flying free of the International Space Station, undocking, occurring right on time at 7:40 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time, 8:40 and 30 seconds p.m. Eastern Time, as the station and the Soyuz flew 250 plus miles over southeastern Mongolia.
Visually, the range is approximately 12 meters. Copy. Copy. Yes. 15 seconds to go. 10.
3 minutes. Есть работа ДПО.
We confirm DPO firing.
The first of 2 separation burns underway. This is an 8-second burn to increase an opening rate between the Soyuz that now is in a roll program.
I can see the maneuver. The maneuver is complete. It's a roll maneuver. Copy. The maneuver is complete now. I confirm GSO, combined GSO.
The second of the 2 separation burns will be coming up shortly. A 15-second burn That will further increase the opening rate between the Soyuz and the International Space Station.
20 seconds.
You're looking down at the snow-covered terrain of far eastern Russia as the Soyuz and the International Space Station soon will begin a northwest to southeasterly track.
3, 2, 1. We confirm depot firing.
Second separation burn now underway. This will be a 15-second burn.
10 seconds. We can see the maneuver. We confirm that depot is off. 15 seconds. Copy. Copy all, guys. We can see that we can see the maneuver. Confirm it.
Great image of the Soyuz MS-09 flying just over the limb of the Earth, over the Sea of Okhotsk.
Copy all.
Everything is in great shape on board. The recovery team, the search and recovery forces, Rosaviatsa of the Russian search and recovery teams, along with NASA and European Space Agency personnel, will be making their way soon to the airport in Gerst, where they'll begin to board Russian Mi-8 helicopters to head toward the landing zone, which is about 87 miles to the southeast of Gerst. The temperature is hovering around the 10-degree Fahrenheit mark this morning, which is Thursday morning over in Kazakhstan. Moves away from the International Space Station. The next order of business for the 3 crew members on board will be a bit of free time as they review their descent procedures that will take place following the deorbit burn that's coming up in 2 hours and 17 minutes. It takes about 2 orbits of the Earth for the Soyuz to move away from the vicinity of the International Space Station for its deorbit burn. Good evening from the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center in Houston for our continuing coverage of the return to Earth coming up soon of 3 crew members who spent more than a half year in space on board the International Space Station. At this hour, the 3 crew members, the Soyuz commander Sergey Prokopyev of Roscosmos, European Space Agency astronaut Alexander Gerst, who was the commander of Expedition 57 on board the International Space Station, and NASA flight engineer Serena Auñón-Chancellor are in the descent module of the 3-section Soyuz spacecraft strapped into their respective seats. Prokopyev in the center seat, flanked on his left by Gerst and on his right by Serena Auñón-Chancellor, as they are now less than 25 minutes away from the engine firing that will begin their journey home from orbit. The deorbit burn scheduled at 10:10 Central Time, 11:10 p.m. Eastern Time, to begin their descent back into the Earth's atmosphere. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. This is Mission Control Houston. We're about a minute away from this event. That will be the computer-commanded separation of the 3 sections of the Soyuz vehicle, leaving only the descent module to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere with its heat shield pointed in the direction of travel, repelling heat that will build up around the spacecraft to about 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. With landing scheduled about 25 minutes from now, we are now hearing the beacon, a familiar sound from the Soyuz vehicle that sends out navigational information between the Soyuz and the search and recovery forces at the landing site. And we now have confirmation of module separation through data received at the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow. You're looking at a view of the ISS flight control room there in the town of Korolyov outside of Moscow. So everything proceeding right on the timeline, right by the book, 24 minutes away from touchdown. And although we have not heard specifically from the crew, again, the data indicating that we have had module separation.
Yeah.
Altais, how are you feeling? What was the re-entry time? Altais. Copy. How can you copy? How do you read us? Copy. Unintelligible. 5 seconds. Yes, we confirm 5 seconds. What was the maximum G load? 3.9. Copy.
Communications has been restored with the crew as we stand by for shoot deploy, reporting that their maximum G-forces were just under 4 Gs.
Unintelligible. The integral is 15.
And a view of one of the Russian search and recovery helicopters, part of a fleet of a dozen such Mi-8 helicopters that are being employed by the Rosaviatsa Russian search and recovery forces in support of the recovery of the crew once they touch down, landing scheduled about 9 minutes from now. This is Mission Control Houston. We're still awaiting confirmation of landing, but you can tell that some of the ground vehicles obviously are heading in a direction that would imply that the Soyuz has landed. We're standing by for confirmation. This is Mission Control Houston. The Russian flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center have now confirmed that they have a visual on the vehicle. It has landed in a vertical position. It is upright. So the Soyuz MS-09 stuck the landing on the eve of the 50th anniversary of humankind's first voyage to the moon. A multinational crew returns to Earth after spending more than a half year in space.
First crew member outside the capsule here momentarily.
Gary, we're now getting a video of the extraction process, and we see what you've been talking about as the first crew member is pulled out of the Soyuz. This is probably the Soyuz commander, Sergey Prokopyev, if they follow the usual procedures of getting the first crew member out from the center seat of the Soyuz. And our understanding is that the temperatures are in the single digits Fahrenheit there, so not the most ideal day, sporting conditions for this time in December. Tell us what you're seeing, Gary.
It is indeed cold, a little light snowfall, but Sergey Prokopyev currently with a smile on his face, waving to the personnel here on the ground, being assisted by the Russian specialist down the slide. Seems to be in good health. He still has a smile on his face. Of course, it was a long journey coming down, and this is the first time he's the air from the Earth in 197 days. Being carried